Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So I'm pretty excited for this video because I'm going to be doing a first impression on the new Nomad palette from Juvia's place, which recently launched. This was sent to me at NPR, just to be fully transparent, but I'm going to give you my honest thoughts as always. So this is the outside packaging. It is super cute. It's got like an ombre from like chartreuse green to a gray. Here's the background. There is 18.9 grams / 0.67 ounces in this. And it's supposed to be good for 24 months. I will say, just in case you're curious, it is smaller than their other 9-pan palettes. And it's also almost half the size of the other 9-pan palettes as far as product goes, just to let you know. But I believe that this retails for $15, and I'll just go ahead and show you the inside. So I absolutely love the packaging. I would say it's kind of an interesting neutral palette. This is marketed as their fall palette, which I can definitely see the fall vibes. There's like a little bit of yellow, some warm tones, some true neutrals, and then a mustardy greeny brown, and then a greeny gray type of shade. And then there's yellow here, but the yellow has like little tiny micro shimmers in it. Maybe I'll do a little close up to show you, because this shade also has tiny micro shimmers, so I'm really hoping that those don't show up on the eye. So this is going to be my regular type of first impression. I'm just going to go ahead and swatch this with gosh, I need more caffeine. So I'm just going to go ahead and swatch this with y'all, do a look, and then at the end I'm also going to go ahead and do some comparisons between this and my other Juvia's Place palettes. And I don't think that there will be as many comparisons to do as the Warrior 3 video that I just did, which I can link down below in case you're curious, because that also just launched. But I'm going to go through and show you each Juvia's Place palette and then swatch the ones that I think are similar, in case you are someone who has a lot of Juvia's Place palettes, or you're in between ones, or you just don't want to have a bunch of repeating shades. So that'll be at the end. Let's just go ahead and jump right on in. Alright, so in my last video, I actually got a comment that was someone was wondering like how much I swirl my finger in the pan, and they thought I was doing some for quite a while. And honestly, for me, swatches is about showing the colors. So I'll kind of sit there and I tried to tell you guys like, oh, it's sheer, or it feels creamy, or like I'll like go back in a little bit more if it does feel sheer. I try to bring attention to that. Like, there's nothing about my swatches where I'm trying to deceive anyone, so I thought I would go ahead and just show you what I do. So I normally just go around like this, and then I'll look at it, and like, if it's sheer, I'll be like, oh, it's kind of sheer, and then maybe do a little bit more just so you can truly see how the color looks. That one is not sheer at all. It actually swatched quite yellow, so that looks good. Sometimes I won't even be thinking, and I'll just go back in a little bit more, because I don't know, it's just, I love swatches so much. It's just a thing for me. So it's like, I just want to be fully transparent, fully clear, like I'm not trying to deceive anyone. So that is the first shade. Also, this palette does not have any names on it. So next we have the little yellow here. Oh gosh, okay. As I'm like putting my finger in, I feel like I can see the sparkle a lot, and I think that's definitely going to show up on the eye. I'm a little less sad about it because I feel like the matte yellow showed up pretty yellow, but it's kind of interesting. It's kind of odd. This is the first time I've seen Juvia's Place kind of do this formula. I think if this had been a yellow and it had been like super metallic, like their regular metallic formula, I would have loved that so much more. But I'm going to give it a chance. So now we've got the greeny gray, which has pretty good pigment to it. Honestly, mostly it just looks like a gray with the tiniest little hint of green, but it has good pigmentation. Alright, next we've got a true orangey matte shade, which feels pretty creamy, has good pigmentation to it. And then we have only two like true metallics in here, and this first one, oh gosh, so beautiful. It's like a lighter gold shade, but the metallicness is stunning. Definitely curious to compare that to the original Warrior palette. And then we've got a gray metallic, which is not quite as metallic. It's a little bit more of a satin. Alright, last but not least, we've got a cream matte, which again, like I said, has like a little tiny touch of micro sparkles in it. But that one I feel like you can see even less than the yellow one. And then we've got a true deeper kind of, oh, it's like a chocolatey brown. That looks really nice. And then the mustardy tone, which is probably the one I'm most excited about just because I love those kind of tones. obviously, like, look at my shirt. I love mustards. Alright, so that is the full palette. I definitely see the fall, the autumnal vibes from it. I think the color I'm most excited about is definitely the mustard. I kind of like this yellow. I think I'm going to play with this greeny gray today also, just to see how green it shows up on the eyes. So I think it's pretty. So there's what it looks like close up. Alright, so for today's look, I'm going to go ahead and start out with this matte yellow. I did already prime my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer today, in case you're wondering. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop that shade right into my crease. I just barely tap my brush into the pan, so definitely good pigmentation. I don't think it's a super vibrant yellow. It's more of a like mellow tone, but it is really pretty, and I think it'll be a great transition shade for the other colors that are in this palette. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and grab the mustardy tone because I just can't help myself. It looks so beautiful. And I'm going to pop that right into my crease. Just a little bit lower down. Just went in with a little tiny bit. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more. Yeah, definitely more of a buildable shade, but I do really like the undertone. I'm going to go back with my previous brush and just lightly buff between those two colors. Alright, now for my outer corner, I'm going to go ahead and grab the deeper greeny gray here. Just grabbing a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put it right in this area and just blend in circular motions. I feel like surrounded by the yellow and the mustard, it is pulling a little bit more green, which is nice. I think it adds something pretty to the look, but I definitely think this shade will kind of show differently depending on what your skin tone is. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my previous brush and just blend. Alright, now I'm gonna go ahead and grab the matte orange, and I'm gonna pop that onto the front of my lower lash line. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab a touch of that dark chocolatey brown, and I'm going to pop that onto the outer part of my lower lash line, blending it down into the orange. Alright, now for my lid, I'm going to go ahead and grab this bright yellow. Because it does have those micro shimmers in it and they seem to show up pretty well from swatching, I thought I would go ahead and try this as a lid shade just because I'm super curious. I'm just going to go ahead and pat that on. Alright, so I think that looks pretty. It does look a little bit powdery, and it looks kind of like a matte, but it has just a little bit of sparkle, so I don't know if I absolutely love that shade. Like I said, if that was super metallic, I think that would have been a game changer, but I'm going to go ahead and fill it in. Grab my previous brush and just very, very lightly blend the edges between the yellow and the crease. Alright, last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and grab this little gold shade here and pop it onto my inner corner. Alright, so to finish up this look, I'm going to go ahead and throw the ColourPop Creme Gel Liner in the shade Punch on my waterline, throw on my Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara, and I'll be right back. Alright, so to finish up my face really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Queen palette, the Few Me Times Juvias Place one, and I'm going to take the shade FTV Approve, which is this highlighter right here, and that's going to be my highlighter for the day. I'm using the Sigma Powder Sweep F06, which I really like. This is a side note, but I used to hate highlighter brushes like this because I would try and use them like this and they just didn't look good, and I didn't understand why anyone would use a brush like this. But if you put them right here and blend it into the cheekbone, I feel like it gives the most natural glow and it blends in so well and looks so beautiful and perfect. So glad I never decluttered this because I was just using it wrong all along. If you love that really blended in type of highlighter look, I definitely recommend a brush like this. Works really well. Morphe has one in the Elite line as well that's pretty good. It's the same shape. And then for lips, I'm going to use my Marc Jacobs Glass Stick in the shade Sugar Sugar. Alright guys, so this is the finished look with the Nomad palette, and I have to say I'm really pleasantly surprised. I think it looks so beautiful, and you can definitely really play up the more interesting to me tones in this palette. So even though I feel like it's not my perfect palette, there are definitely things I would change about this just slightly. I'm not saying that I would like completely change the color scheme, because I actually do think it has something kind of cool and unique about it. If I could tweak certain details just a little bit, I would make this shade a little bit more green. I would make this one super metallic, and then this I would take out the micro shimmers, because I think that this could be a good transition shade for someone who has super fair skin, or it could be a good setting shade if you have more of a medium to deep skin tone and you like to go ahead and set your eye primer. But because of the micro shimmers, I don't think that a lot of people will be using it like that. I don't really understand what the point of this shade with the micro shimmers is. Maybe it could be a super subtle highlight on deeper skin tones for like the inner corner, or maybe a little tiny bit on the brow bone, but I don't see it as the most versatile shade ever. So those are the things I would change, but overall the formula feels pretty much on par with everything else from Juvia's Place, where it's pigmented but it's more on the buildable side. I didn't have any problems with blending. I do like this gold metallic they included. I think it would be really beautiful on the inner corner, or it would be a beautiful lid shade with pretty much all of the matte shades that are in here. And then this shade is the only one that I didn't know. Actually, sorry, I didn't use this one today and I didn't use this one, but this satiny shade is kind of like to me. Like, I'm just not someone who goes crazy over grays. But I think it's nice that it's there, and I can definitely see how it would fit into this color scheme, and I'm actually surprisingly am excited to use this more. I do really like it, and I feel like I got such a pretty look from it, and I think it'll be so great for fall. So I'm prepared. I also think that like the finished look looks so perfect with my shirt today, which was not planned. I actually went to church this morning and I was wearing this with a Natasha and a gold palette, which I think is really pretty, but I think this is also a really stunning combination. So overall, I like it a lot. I think I would give it so far like a B+ is kind of where I would say. I think it's not your average neutral palette, so I do like that. So that's kind of my first impression thoughts. Now let's go ahead and jump on into the comparisons. If you're not already familiar, I'm going to do my comparisons the way that I did with the Warrior 3 video that I just did, because I got a really good response from it. I'm just going to go ahead and hold up the Nomad versus the other Juvia's Place palettes one by one, and whatever shades I feel like are similar I'll point out, and then I'll swatch them, and hopefully that'll be really helpful for y'all. So here is the Nomad versus the Warrior 3. The only shade here that I think is similar is the bright yellow. So here is Warrior 3, and here is Nomad. But the Warrior 3 does not have sparkles in it, and Nomad does. Here is Nomad versus the Saharan 2. I don't see any similar shades here. Here is Nomad versus the Zulu palette. The only thing I see somewhat similar is the yellow shade. I don't think that they're the same by any means, but I'll go ahead and swatch them. So here is Nomad, and here is Zulu. Okay, next we have the Nomad versus the Festival, and I feel like they both have a light gold and a satiny type of gray shade, so I'm going to go ahead and swatch those. Here is Nomad, Festival, Nomad, Festival. Okay, next we have the Nomad versus the Tribe, and I'm going to go ahead and compare the two matte oranges and the two mustardy browns. Alright, so here is Nomad, Tribe, Nomad, Tribe. So those two are actually quite similar. We have Nomad versus the Douce. I'm going to go ahead and compare the cream shade and the chocolate brown. Okay, here we have Nomad, Douce, Nomad, Douce. Alright, next I have the Warrior 2 versus the Nomad, and I feel like I don't see anything really repeating here. I mean, they're all neutrals, basically different neutral spectrums, but I think the only thing I do want to go ahead and swatch is the gray green in the Nomad and the true gray here, just to kind of compare. So here is Nomad, and here is Warrior 2. Here is the Nomad versus the Masquerade, and I don't see anything repeating here. Here's the Nomad versus the Magic. I'm just going to go ahead and swatch the matte orange. And oh, and actually I'm going to swatch the cream too. I didn't even notice that. So here's Nomad, Magic, Nomad, Magic. Alright, so here is the Nubian 2. The only thing I really see comparable here is the mustardy brown and the deep chocolate brown. I'm going to go ahead and swatch those. They both have oranges, but they are completely different, so I'm not going to swatch them. Here's Nomad, Nubian 2, Nomad, Nubian 2. Alright, so next we have the original Nubian, the first Juvia's Place palette, and I don't think anything is comparable here. I think maybe looking at them at first glance, you're like, oh, they're both neutral palettes, but I feel like this overall has a little bit more warmth to it, and it's mostly just like true neutrals, and all of these colors have more vibrancy to them, so I just don't think that they compare. Sometimes when I get comparisons and I show palettes next to each other, I get comments that are like, you should have done this one and this one and this one and this one, and I think sometimes on video colors will look more similar, but I'm just going off of based on what I see in real life, because I don't want to spend 8 years swatching every single shade that could possibly maybe be the same tone. So I'm looking here at the Saharan, and again, I don't really see anything too similar. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch the super deep dark brown next to the black just to show you the difference, because it is a very, very deep brown. I'm noticing that more as I swatch it against all the other browns in the Juvia's Place collection. So here is Nomad versus Saharan. We have the Afrique palette, and I think the only thing really comparable here is this lighter matte orange. Here is Nomad, and here is Afrique. Last but not least, we have the Warrior palette, and I'm going to go ahead and swatch quite a few similar shades in here. I'm going to do the chocolatey browns, both of the middle gold shades in each palette. They look very similar. Also the warm orangey shade, and then the cream shades. So we've got Nomad, Warrior, Nomad, Warrior. Tell me how I just now noticed that the sleeve is not buttoned. Goodness gracious. I had a bug bite earlier, so I unbuttoned it to put some calamine lotion on it to help with the itching. And I guess I completely forgot, and I've been doing this whole video without even realizing that it wasn't buttoned. But anyways, alright, so next we have Nomad, Warrior, Nomad, Warrior. I would say looking at them, I don't know if you would necessarily need both. I feel like the Warrior would be better for someone who loves metallics because there's a lot more metallics in here, and the Nomad would be better for someone who loves mattes. And also I feel like the Nomad is kind of like the grungier, kind of more quirky sister of the Warrior because of the tones that it has. But they do have kind of repeating base shades. It's just the other ones that kind of give them different color stories. Alright guys, so that was everything for today's video with the Nomad palette. I really hope it was helpful. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!